Oleksandr Usyk has to make a decision who he's going to fight for the last time before he retires from boxing. And there are a number of options on the table. So who is Usyk going to fight? Eddie Hearn recently said something about this, and I think it's really interesting when you sort of break that down. So let's have a listen to what Eddie Hearn said in this video, and then we can talk about it further.
I thought he would fight Rico, but then I thought to myself, he's not. There's no, whatever fight Usyk's in next is not a World Heavyweight Championship. Maybe it's a Zuffa belt or something like that. But it's just like, I feel like if you're not fighting for the World Heavyweight, and if it's Usyk against Rico and the World Heavyweight Championship's not on the line, for me, part of the selling of that fight is to say, oh, mate, if Rico wins, he becomes World Heavyweight Champion. That's mental.
Look, Oleksandr Usyk has vacated all his belts. So the potential of, Rico Verhoeven becoming a world champion by beating Oleksandr Usyk is no more on the table. And I think people would say that this is really unfortunate because, Rico Verhoeven deserved a shot at the world titles. But the truth is, Oleksandr Usyk, and that's the reality, he's vacated the belt. And I think, what Eddie Hearn is saying, that he was thinking that Usyk is going to fight Rico Verhoeven if he wasn't going to fight Agit Kabayel. And I think that's what a lot of people in boxing were expecting Usyk to do. But according to Eddie Hearn, which was in a video that I've not played, he said that Usyk is in conversation to fight none other than Deontay Wilder. So Usyk is no more interested in fighting Rico Verhoeven, but is interested in fighting Deontay Wilder. That's what Eddie Hearn is saying. Like, according to Eddie Hearn, that is the rumors. These are the conversations that have been, had behind closed doors about Usyk's next fight. And I think it's really interesting because, as I said, everybody is expecting Usyk to make right of the wrongs in that Rico Verhoeven fight, because everyone can attest to it. That was a difficult fight for Usyk, and a lot of people had Rico Verhoeven ahead on the scorecards going into the 11th round. So if that fight had gone the distance, people would say that Rico Verhoeven would have won that fight. People think that Rico Verhoeven deserves a shot. So now Deontay Wilder, all of a sudden coming into the picture as Usyk has relinquished all the belts, is very interesting to me, and I think it's good that we dissect that further. The reason why I think this is really interesting is because Deontay Wilder and Oleksandr Usyk were meant to fight before Wilder signed to fight Derek Chisora. This was the fight that was being talked about before Usyk even signed to fight Rico Verhoeven. Usyk said in an interview that he wants to fight Deontay Wilder. And I never really understood why Usyk wanted to fight Deontay Wilder, because Wilder was never a champion during that time. Wilder's reign is over. Wilder has lost to Joseph Parker, Zhilei Zhang. Deontay Wilder has looked awful in his last fight against Tyrell Herndon. And so Deontay Wilder is not the same fighter he once was. But Usyk was adamant that he wanted to fight Deontay Wilder. And then Usyk explained that the reason why he wanted to fight Deontay Wilder is because Deontay Wilder is one of those champions in his era that he never fought. So Deontay Wilder reigned for 10 years as a world champion, the BBC champion, and Usyk never fought him. So Usyk wanted the opportunity to fight Deontay Wilder, right? So it made sense for Usyk want to fight Deontay Wilder. Now, I didn't think it made sense then. Although I think it makes sense now, I did not think it made sense then. And the reason why I say it didn't make sense during that time is because Deontay Wilder, at that time, still had no belts. Oleksandr Usyk was holding 3 belts. So I did not understand why Usyk would fight Deontay Wilder then, when he was a belt holder, when he should be fighting the likes of Agit Kabayel, who is his mandatory for the WBC title. So I didn't understand that. But now, if Usyk wants to fight Deontay Wilder, I absolutely understand that, because Usyk is not holding any belts. He wants to get Deontay Wilder on his record because that is a champion or ex-champion that he's never fought before. And that makes sense. I've said it already. I said if Usyk is going to hold the belts and not fight the contenders and the mandatories, then that is wrong. Then he needs to relinquish the belt. But now that he's relinquished the belt, I think Usyk can fight anyone that he wants, and that shouldn't be a problem. So now the option is between, Deontay Wilder and, Rico Verhoeven. Like, these are the options on the table for Oleksandr Usyk to face before he retires from boxing. So the Deontay Wilder fight makes sense, but also the Rico Verhoeven fight makes sense if you think about it, because, if Usyk is not going to fight Deontay Wilder, who is now the next opponent that is fitting for Usyk to fight before he retires from boxing? And that is Rico Verhoeven, because as you guys know, there's history there, there's unfinished business. Rico Verhoeven feels like he can beat Usyk the next time. Usyk will feel like, he did not perform his best and he wants a second chance to make things right. So I think Usyk is going to go into that fight motivated. Rico Verhoeven is going to come into that fight motivated because he would feel that if he's done it before in the first fight, then he can do it again in the second fight. And Usyk would feel like, he is the better boxer. This is his division. Rico is a novice. He's the heavyweight champion. And if Rico is coming here, then he should be able to do a better job and basically bring dignity back into boxing. Because after that fight, people started questioning Usyk's legacy. Like, I remember making a video about people talking about the fact that Usyk is not one of the all-time great boxers or heavyweights or whatever because he struggled with Rico Verhoeven, who was a novice, right? And I came here defending Usyk's legacy. I came in and talk about the fact that Usyk struggling against Rico Verhoeven has nothing to do with Usyk's legacy because Usyk's legacy, in my opinion, is cemented in boxing. So I don't think that, even a loss against Rico Verhoeven would have tainted Usyk's legacy in any way. But I think Usyk being someone that, wants to bring dignity back into boxing and maybe Usyk has heard the rumors and he has heard the conversation that people are saying that he didn't perform well and that, his legacy is on the line and people don't respect him anymore. Maybe Usyk has heard that and he's thinking, do you know what? I want to face this Rico guy again and I want to show him that I am the best boxer on the planet. And I want to show him that what happened before was a fluke and it's something that shouldn't happen. And now I'm going to show Rico that I am the best in the division. And I think that is something that Usyk probably is thinking about. But the option is two. It's either Usyk fights Deontay Wilder, the bronze bomber, a guy that he's always wanted to fight because he's never had the opportunity to fight Deontay Wilder when Wilder was a champion. And now that they're both not champions, that fight makes sense. And I think Deontay Wilder would welcome that fight as well because although I think Wilder is diminished and he's finished, and I think that Usyk will make light work of Deontay Wilder, Wilder still deserves an opportunity against Oleksandr Usyk if Usyk wants to give him the chance to make the fight. Or, as I said, Usyk needs to go back to Rico Verhoeven and show the world that that fight against Rico Verhoeven was a fluke, that it was a mistake, and that he can do better in the second fight. And that once again, he can bring dignity back into boxing because after that fight, people are asking questions. How can someone come from, kickboxing, who's never really boxed as a boxer, come in here and fight the best boxer in boxing, in the heavyweight division, and have a really, really good performance to the point where people are thinking that Rico won that fight? So if you think about it, it's a big deal. So for me, if Usyk fights Deontay Wilder, that is absolutely fine. If Usyk wants to rematch Rico Verhoeven and do a better job, then I think that is also absolutely fine. But I'm quite interested to know what you guys think about this. Oleksandr Usyk's final fight before he retires. Who should it be? Should it be Deontay Wilder, a champion that he never got the opportunity to fight? Or Rico Verhoeven, a guy that gave him one of his toughest fights in his whole career? Should he rematch that guy? Get in the comment section and let me know what you think about it.